Hi guys, and welcome back to another video. So in this video, you've decided you don't want to get a van, you want to get a tipper truck. So we're going to talk to you now about the different types of tipper trucks out there, what you should be paying for a tipper truck and what to look out for. So let's begin. So first of all, for those that don't know, what is a tipper truck? So a tipper truck is not a van, it is a van chassis, okay? And on the back, you've got a drop side looking tailgate, okay? So at the back, it is a flat bit of steel with aluminium doors or steel doors on the side that drop down. Now, a drop side truck does not tip, but looks exactly like a tipper truck. What it means is you can drop the side doors down and use it as a work area and a loading space, okay? A tipper truck looks exactly like a drop side truck, but it has the switches, it has all the kit. So when you press the button, the back of your truck goes up with all your scrap, you open the back door and it drops it all out for you. It takes away all the unloading that you would do in a van or a drop side truck. A tipper works by a ram and a pot of hydraulic fluid connected to a control inside the truck. When you press the up button, the tipper will go up. All the fluid will leave the tank and go into the ram, hydraulic ram, pushing it up. When you press the down button, all the fluid comes out of the ram, back into the oil tank, ready for you to use again. So what are the advantages of using a tipper truck as opposed to a van or a drop side truck? With a tipper truck, you load it up exactly like you would a drop side truck. You open one of the doors, or you put it in. You drop the door down and you put it in, or if it's light enough you can chuck it over the doors. Some tippers have sides, so they have aluminium sides. A lot of people call these greedy rails because it means you can fit more stuff in. I've personally fitted sides to my truck so I could get over a ton of weight in each time. Once you put your stuff in the truck, whether you've got sides or not, legally you have to strap anything that's loose down. If the scrap metal is going over the top of the sides, you definitely need to strap it down. And by law, you have to have a tarpaulin sheet or covering strapped down so nothing flies off. You should be okay without it, but if the police want to, they can pull you and give you points for this. Pros and cons with using a tipper truck. The pros are, as you load stuff up, you load and load and load. You can chuck stuff in over the top. You haven't got to open a door and it just sort of falls in and flattens down as you're driving along. That's one of the best pros of a tipper truck. The next best pro for tipper truck is when you come to a scrapyard, all you have to do is drop your back door down. So if you imagine this is your door, you drop it down at the back, reverse in, put your tipper up, boom. You haven't got to unload anything by hand. It's all took out for you. This is a great advantage if you're tired one morning or you're not feeling too clever or you've got a bad back and you just haven't got the energy to unload your stuff. This is where a tipper really comes in handy. Negatives with a tipper truck. The only negative I really see with a tipper truck is the height of the bed floor, the bit that you load into at the back of the tipper, the height of that bed floor from the ground. So you're a scrap man, you're going out, you're picking up heavy washing machines, heavy ovens. Now, if you've got a van, okay, you use a sack truck, a little trolley to push your washing machine to the back of the van, and you just tilt it in, lift it up from the bottom, and then just put it in. But you don't have to deadlift it up, okay? You have to lean it, lift one side, the van's got the rest of the weight, and you push it on. That's an advantage of a van. With a tipper, you haven't got that, okay? The tipper is, the bed of the tipper is going to be, in most cases, above your waist height, nearer towards your chest height, okay, around your belly button kind of area. So imagine, if you're picking up a washing machine, you have to deadlift that washing machine from the ground up to that truck if you're by yourself. If you've got two people, it's easy peasy, but most of you are going to be by yourself. So you need to bear that in mind, how much lifting you're prepared to do, because although on the other side you haven't got to unload it, it's twice as hard to lift it on there. So bear that in mind. Ways round of lifting stuff on the back of the tipper truck. You can get a hydraulic little crane that goes out. And if you imagine this is your crane bolted to the back of your truck, the end swings outside past the side of your truck. Let's say it's here. You pull the lead down, put it on your washing machine, and you use hydraulics to lift the washing machine up, and then you swing it round onto the truck. That's how you can get it on. I personally never had one of these because it's time consuming. When I'm getting scrap, I just want to pick it up, chuck it up, and get gone. Okay, so remember, if you get in a tipper truck, you are going to be doing lots of heavy lifting, and although you will save your back when you go to tip it out, when you tip it out, you still have to go through all that metal, knocking out your motors, cutting your wires, separating your non-ferrous. So what you want to do is tip it all out and then just sift through it on the ground, okay? There's advantages and disadvantages to everything. The main advantage with a tipper is you can tip it off and you haven't got to unload it. The main disadvantage is you have to lift from a deadlift basically for your washing machines and your heavier items, which after time can cause repetitive strain injuries. So you want to be careful with what you're doing. Now we've talked about the pros and cons of a tipper truck. What kinds of tipper truck are there and how much should you pay? Okay, so you've got the main makes are, you've got a Ford Transit tipper, a Toyota Dyna tipper, a Mitsubishi Canter tipper, and an Isuzu Grafter tipper. The best place to find these tippers is eBay and Gumtree. Type in those titles, rewind the video, type in any one of those makes and the tipper trucks will come up. Now in my experience, there's a big variation of the quality of trucks and how much you should pay. So let's say you haven't got loads of money, but you do want a tipper truck. Well, you can actually buy some trucks for around £1,000, 1,500 quid. But in the world of tipper trucks, you get what you pay for. You're going to be dealing with lots of exposed metal that is open to all the elements. So you're going to get lots of rust issues. Now, for those who don't know, on an MOT, when it comes to a tipper truck, the whole tipping bed and the whole mechanism for the tipping bed, if it's got rust in it or anything else, is not an MOT failure. Okay, it's not. When you go for an MOT on a tipper truck, they're looking at the condition of your chassis and the normal points that they check on an MOT, your suspension, your brakes, your emissions, stuff like that. So when you go to look at a truck, if the tipper bed actually looks a bit tatty, it's okay. If it's got rust in it and a few holes in it, it's okay. Now, if you've got rust and holes in the bed of your tipper and you haven't got it covered by wood or anything else, you can actually get 3 points and a fine for every hole that you've got if the police stop and do an inspection on you. Okay, you want to be careful of this because, you know, the one time you're going to get stopped when you've got loads of scrap on and they can see holes in it and they're going to throw the book at you. So be careful, okay? So let's say you've got £1,500 to buy a tipper. How should you buy it and what should you look for? So when you turn up, first things first, the most important thing is your engine. If you ain't starting in the morning, it doesn't matter whether you've got a tipper or not. Make sure there's those knocks, no bangs, no excessive smoke, and have a look around for oil leaks. Now, if you're looking at a Ford Transit, they all got oil leaks, okay? All around the sump, gaskets, all this sort of stuff. But don't be put off by that because it's normal and you'll be hard pushed to find a Transit that hasn't got an oil leak, okay? Next, you want to make sure your security as well, so the locks are working. If it's got an alarm, that's amazing. If you can, buy a tipper with a toolbox behind the bulkhead of the driver and passenger cab. That's going to allow you to put all your tools and non-ferrous in whilst all the metal goes in the back. So when you tip, you haven't got to keep lifting off all your non-ferrous you put at the back and any tools. You can just tip the metal off because you've already separated your non-ferrous and tools. Okay, so you've got 1,500 quid. I'm telling you now, you're going to be buying a Ford Transit tipper truck. Try and get one with 12 months MOT. Make sure it's not a dodgy MOT, right? Try and find one with 12 months MOT. You'd be hard pushed for service history because most people fix it themselves, okay? And once you check the engine and the security and all your lockers and everything else, make sure the tipper goes up and goes down. Now, if the tipper don't work, you can knock a lot of money off the price. So make sure you check this because the last thing you want to do is buy a tipper, go through all the hard hassle of loading all your stuff up onto it, only to find when you get to the scrapyard, it doesn't tip, it don't work. So now you've got a drop side truck. So now you've got all the disadvantages of owning the tipper, but none of the advantages, and you would have been better off with a van. I would recommend, if you're going to get your tipper for the first time, you should be looking at spending no more, really, than between £3,000 to £5,000 for your first tipper. This tipper shouldn't have loads of rust on it or loads of holes on it and stuff like this. This should be an up together, good looking tipper. If you're lucky, it's got aluminium doors and it's got the sides built on there, and you want to look at the condition of the floor. And then my top tip is to put a bit of OSB board down over that floor. Once you've sanded it, sand and paint the metal floor, put OSB board over it, okay, and attach it down so it's protecting the floor, because it's going to take an absolute hammering, okay? If you spend £3 to £5 on a truck, you're probably still going to be looking at a truck 15 to 20 years old, okay? Because you do not want to see the price of a new truck. A brand new Isuzu Grafter tipper truck with no sides costs 45 grand. Okay, bear that in mind. So you want to be spending between 3 to 5 grand. That's something that's going to last. Now, I've never had a Ford Transit tipper truck. I had a Toyota Dyna tipper truck and I had a Ford Ranger tipper truck. Both super reliable vehicles. Main difference being, and you want to keep this in mind, with a make like Ford, there's loads of parts in the UK. You can, if there's a problem with your truck, you can take it to the garage. They'll get the parts the same day. They'll fix it, whether it's a Ford Ranger or a Ford Transit. It will keep you on the road. With your Japanese trucks, okay, like Toyotas and Mitsubishis, yes, they're reliable, but all vehicles break down. And when they need parts, they're not as readily available as parts for, say, Ford Transits or Ford Rangers, okay? In some instances, you may have to wait 2 weeks for your parts to come from Japan once ordered. And that's 2 weeks you're not on the road and you're not earning money. Now, weight limits. On vehicles such as Ford Transit tippers, let's go for a Ford Transit tipper. Let's say the weight limit on it, it's based on a long wheelbase Ford Transit chassis. And let's say the weight limit's 3.5 tons of what you can carry on the road. Now that 3.5 tons has to cover your weight, any passenger weight, any tool weight, and the weight of the vehicle. So a Ford Transit tipper van, empty, is probably going to weigh around 2.3 tons, 2.4 tons, something like that. Put you in it, it's up to 2.5 tons. Now that means you and your truck and your tools, say, I'm weighing 2.5 tons, yeah, that means you can carry a maximum of 1 ton's worth of scrap on your truck. If you get pulled and you're overweight, and a lot of tippers are overweight, okay, if you get pulled and you're overweight, they're going to throw the book at you, okay, because your license doesn't cover you to drive over 3.5 tons unless you've got a license to drive 7.5 ton, but still doesn't matter because that vehicle is rated to a maximum of 3.5 ton. Now, something to bear in mind, when you buy a tipper truck, haggle, and you'll get a good deal. But make sure you want a tipper truck, because I've had tipper trucks and I've sold tipper trucks, and they are hard vehicles to sell. It's not like you're selling a family car that everybody needs. You're selling a commercial vehicle, and they are hard to shift. They are hard to sell. So do your best efforts when you go to sell a vehicle. Make it look nice. Make sure it's mechanically sound. If there's anything wrong with it, fix it. Or if you're going to sell it with problems, like I did, make sure you tell the next buyer exactly what the problems are. Mine drastically failed in an MOT, needed loads of work. As soon as I did that MOT, I went to a buyer, showing him the report. I'm showing him I'm honest. I've got nothing to hide. This is a truck. It's a good truck. It looks amazing, but it needs work. Be honest and above board, and you won't go wrong. So in summary, if you want to get a tipper truck, you go for it. But just remember, you're going to be doing a lot more heavier lifting for a lot further from the ground up to the truck. So that's the negative. But the positive is that when you go to the scrapyard, you can tip it all off and you sift through it, and it saves half the lifting for the day. If you can, buy a tipper truck with a built-in toolbox behind the bulkhead, These are fully lockable, and this is where you put all your non-ferrous metals, your aluminium, your batteries, and all your tools. So it's separate from the metal. That way, making it easier for yourself. When you go to empty the metal, you just tip it off. Jobs are good. If you want one, don't spend more than 3 to 5 grand on your first tipper truck. One like that will last as long as you look after it. But just remember, a lot of garages that work on cars are only rated to work on vehicles up to 3 tons maximum. If you're at 3.5 tons, you're going to have to go to a commercial vehicle garage, which is higher rates of labour. Okay, so it's going to cost you more to fix and get stuff done. But if you want a tipper truck, go for it. Remember everything I said. Put some sides on, keep a tarpaulin in so you can strap over, a couple of ratchet straps as well. Stay legal, stay above board, and you should be fine. I hope you enjoyed this video, guys. Look out for many more scrapping videos. If you did, share, like and subscribe, and let's try our best to keep you safe and earn you money in the world of scrap metal. Thank you and bye.